The second solar eclipse of 2022 is on October 25th. We're going to talk about that. But above all, I'm going to show you how you can use this energy of the solar eclipse to manifest your dreams and desires. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. Aham Brahmasmi. So on October 25th, we're going to have the second solar eclipse of the year. It's a partial solar eclipse and it's not obviously visible everywhere in the world. So it's going to be in parts of South and West Asia, East and North Africa, and then in Europe. And also if you're in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere, you could probably see it. So this is the map of where you can see it. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, if it's not visible from where you live locally, does it still have an impact? Yes, it does. The sun has an impact on the whole earth. So it definitely has a bigger impact on where it's visible, but the general impact is on everywhere, whether it's visible or not. What is actually a solar eclipse? Sometimes people don't understand. A solar eclipse is when the moon passes between the sun and the earth. So it's the shadow of the moon falls on over the sun. So it casts the darkness that you see over the sun is the shadow of the moon. So that's what causes a solar eclipse. What does this actually mean? The sun represents our soul in astrology. The sun also represents our karmic soul pattern. So when the shadow of the moon falls on the sun, it actually means that our soul has a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of darkness that passes through it. Hence, it's very common a few days before and a few days after, especially during the solar eclipse. Whether it's visible in your area, local area or not, it's very common to feel a little depressed, to feel confused because you're not sure what to do, because it's your soul that has a little dark shadow going over it. So it's very common to feel confused, not know what to do, or certain decisions that are karmic decisions, life-changing decisions. It's very common to not know what to do. So it's best for everybody not to make very life-changing, life-altering decisions a few days after, 3 to 5 days before and after the solar eclipse. Definitely not during the solar eclipse. So don't make any very life-altering decisions during the solar eclipse. Now let's understand the astrology of this solar eclipse. It's occurring in the zodiac sign of Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is actually at this time during the solar eclipse, and the whole month of October is actually in itself is in Libra as well. So it's very near the solar eclipse. And when it's very near the sun, any planet that goes that close to the sun gets combust. So the ruler of that zodiac sign where the eclipse is happening in is combust at this time, which is Venus is combust during this eclipse. The eclipse is happening in the nakshatra of Swati. Swati is a nakshatra that is holy in the zodiac sign of Libra. And Swati is ruled by the planet Rahu. So we have a combust Venus playing a role in this eclipse. And also we have the role of Rahu very greatly impacting this eclipse. The most important part of this eclipse is that when sun goes into Libra during this time of the year, sun gets debilitated in Libra. So this is a very low point of the sun. The sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. The other astrological aspect or the planetary position that's impacting this eclipse very, very greatly is this planet Saturn. Saturn is right now in the zodiac sign of Capricorn, and Saturn has 3 aspects. So Saturn aspects the 3rd house from it, the 7th house from it, and the 10th house from it. So from Saturn's 10th aspect, it's looking at the zodiac sign of Libra right now. Saturn's most malefic aspect is the 10th aspect. It destroys the 10th house or the 10th planet from it. So Saturn has a malefic influence on this eclipse at this time as well. So let's take a look at all these planetary positions and the impact that they're going to have. So the first thing we'll discuss is Venus. Venus rules 2 zodiac signs, Taurus and Libra. Taurus is the second zodiac sign of all the 12 signs, and it rules food, finance, and family primarily. So at this time, all those issues are going to come to the forefront in not such a pleasant way. The second zodiac sign that Venus represents is Libra. Libra is the 7th zodiac sign, and so it rules marriage, business partnerships, all contractual relationships. And also it's the sign of the scale. So if you look at Libra, it shows the scale. So it represents balancing our life, balancing the spiritual side to the material side. So this is all the significations of the sign Venus in both those zodiac signs, of the planet Venus in both those zodiac signs. Now let's talk about the sun. After all, it's a solar eclipse. That's the most important planet involved in this. As I mentioned before, the sun represents our soul. It represents our soul and the karmic pattern, the reason for our birth. The sun also represents our ability to make decisions, our confidence, our courage, and the self-effort that we can put into things. People that have an exalted sun have an aura and a charisma about them. People that have a debilitated sun in their birth charts are unable to make decisions. They're unable to deal with people with confidence, and they have low confidence, low self-esteem levels. The sun also represents high government officials. The sun also represents leaders of large companies, which is why they have that confidence, and so that's why they reach to such high levels. So in the past, the sun represented the king. Now, why does the sun debilitate in the sign of Libra? Libra represents the physical pleasures of life, or the physical intimacy between couples, because it's the 7th zodiac sign. So when the sun enters zodiac, it forgets its sole purpose of life and gets so engrossed in the physical pleasures of life. So because Venus represents chasing beautiful things, it represents chasing the physical pleasures of life. Hence, the sun debilitates in the sign of Libra. So now here we have an eclipse happening in the sign of Libra. The sun is already debilitated, and now Venus, the lord of the zodiac sign, is also combust. Here comes another planet that we're going to get involved with, is the lord of the nakshatra that the eclipse is happening in, and that's Swati. Swati, the word Swati means a sword, and it's represented by a small little shoot of a plant. And the plant is, when the plant is very small and it's very weak, it kind of sways with the wind. So it doesn't have a backbone. It's not very strong. When the wind blows, it just doesn't stay upright. It kind of sways with the wind. And so Swati also represents Vayu, or the wind. So it represents a little shoot or a little plant that's weak enough that kind of sways with the wind. Hence, Swati represents people that are not very determined, and they kind of sway with the wind, or sway with the breeze. They kind of are unable to make strong decisions and stand with those decisions. They're weaker, which is why I mentioned that the sun gets debilitated in Libra, and hence people that have a debilitated sun are unable to stand with confidence and present themselves with confidence, or stand by their decisions they make, because they're kind of swaying with the breeze and just kind of saying who goes and going with whoever one day it's this side, the next day it's this side. They're not very firm in their approach, just like the little plant that's very weak. It's not very firm and doesn't stand firm against the blowing breeze. That's why in Swati, all of us, when this eclipse happens in Swati, in that nakshatra, all of us are going to sway and not take a firm approach. This is one of the effects of this nakshatra, but I'll talk about most of the other effects later. Let's talk about Rahu for a minute, because Swati is ruled by Rahu. Rahu is the head part of the demon, and so it rules our head, it rules our thinking pattern. Right now, Rahu is transiting in Aries, and Aries represents the head as well. So right now, we've got people that are obsessed about things. Rahu represents obsessions. Rahu is a planet that magnifies everything within our head. Things that are really small, but they appear this much. And this is the planet of Rahu that causes these obsessions and magnifications in our head. Rahu also causes where a person focuses on something so much that they go after it with like a dog with a bone. They just want to go after something, and they lose all perspective of it. They just don't have the right perspective or the thought process. They forget the reality, and the perception is bigger than the reality, is what Rahu does. That's my favorite way of explaining Rahu, is when perception becomes bigger than reality. So this is the planet Rahu. If you notice, ever since Rahu went into Aries after April, people have kind of lost their minds. There's a lot of violence that's going on in the world, and thoughtless things. People are just doing things in rage, or in just doing things that just don't mean anything, and they just don't really have a good effect on society, and the people are just doing it because they're obsessed about things that may not really be the right way to do things. So that's what Rahu means. Now we're going to put all of this mishmash together and come up with a few predictions, general as well as for the ascendants. One more interesting part that I did want to mention about the sun in Swati is that it's also ruled by Lord Brahma, and he's the god of creation. So the technique to managing sun in Swati really well is to not spend so much money, is to create things and create them for the good of mankind, but also to preserve your resources and use them for the good of mankind. You'll never believe who has sun in Swati. It's Bill Gates. Bill Gates, in his chart, there's sun in Swati. So you can see how his relationships are a little bit on the challenge side, but yet he is one of the richest men in the world, because he has created resources that for the better of mankind, and he's spread them out so well. So the more you create resources and the more you use them for the better of mankind, the more they grow. So the technique and the remedy is actually, when you look at Bill Gates' chart at this time for the eclipses, not to spend a lot of money, not to spend all your resources, but to conserve your resources. And that's why he's that successful. The remedy lies in when you look at Bill Gates' chart. So how can the solar eclipse generally impact the world at large? Well, like I mentioned before, the sun represents political leaders, government leaders, leaders of large organizations. And so because of the sun and Venus being debilitated, I don't think this is a very good indication for the health of leaders of large countries as well as companies. So we could see some health matters coming up for some of the leaders, government leaders, or political leaders. I think there's going to be, health issues that some of them could experience. So I hope this prediction, is not right, but unfortunately I think that will happen. Now, when I did my earlier solar eclipse in April, I had predicted that there was going to be a lot of changes in leadership in countries, and as you know, lots and lots of countries had leadership changes in the last 6 months. So this time the changes, there may be changes, but I think it's going to be more impacting the health of leadership this time. Also, these could be sudden because of the impact of Rahu and the nakshatra Swati. So it could be sudden impact on the health of leaders. The other events that could be related to, because Saturn impact is malefic, and Saturn is in the nakshatra of Dhanishta, ruled by Mars. So Mars and Rahu combined is very fiery energy, and it's malefic at this time. So I think there could be a lot of fire incidents happening and natural disasters relating to fire and land. Mars represents real estate, I've said many times. So definitely maybe some big earthquakes happening. There's already some that have happened, but I think there's a big one coming in the areas that is where the eclipse is visible in. So earthquakes, and then definitely some fire incidents here and maybe big, but hopefully, I always don't like making negative predictions because everything I say comes out true. So I try not to say bad things. But anyway, so there's definitely some natural disasters relating to fire and earthquakes is definitely possible. And the main event that people are always asking me about, but I refuse to make predictions on war and stuff like that. I don't like making political predictions. But as far as the war is concerned, this eclipse looks very bad as far as the ongoing war is concerned. I don't think it's bad news for the war. I think it's going to intensify, and I think there's going to be things used that are not good for the war, and people understand what I'm saying. I just don't want to say it. So I think it's going to intensify. There's also the probability of extra or more warlike situations happening, because Rahu represents the foreigners and it also represents boundaries, and Mars is involved. So Mars is a fighter planet. It represents war and real estate. So boundaries are getting involved and political leaders are also getting involved. So I think there's going to be some challenges within the war. It might intensify. More conflicts with other countries might start as well. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, nothing really bad happens, but this eclipse does not look good for the war situations in countries. And so people are always asking, how long is this effect for, the predictions for, or how long does the impact of an eclipse last? So the solar eclipse impact lasts much longer than a lunar eclipse. So the solar eclipse, the impact is very intense a week before and a week after the solar eclipse. But the predictions that I'm making for the world are 3 months is very intense, and up to 6 months is also for the whole world predictions that I'm making. But for us in general, they're absolutely the same. You're getting very intense. The predictions are much more felt more deeply for the first 3 months after the eclipse, and then you can also feel the effects of them until 6 months after, which is until the next eclipse. So that's how long these predictions you can feel them. Now let's talk about what are the general impact that all of us are going to feel. Well, like I said, Venus rules our relationships. Venus rules our food, finance, and family, and marital relationships, all contractual relationships, whether they're at work or whether they're at home. So, and it's combust. So this is not a good impact for us. And Rahu's ruling it. So it's our perception. We've lost our soul purpose, and we're just not staying true to whoever it is that we need to stay true to. And so this is the time where there's going to be a lot of conflict within relationships, whether they're long relationships, whether they're marital, especially marital relationships, but even in love relationships. I think there's going to be a lot of conflict. There's going to be disturbance. If people have a weak relationship already, the chances of it breaking also are great at this time. Obviously, your birth chart will determine that. Everybody's relationship is not going to break. So, but the relationships, it's a testing time for all relationships. So we have to make sure we take all the necessary measures to make sure that we're getting along. We don't do things to jeopardize this testing time further. And one of the things we have to make sure is, because the second, which is the Taurus, is also getting impacted. Taurus is the zodiac sign of communication and speech. So we have to make sure that the way we manage our relationships is based on how we're speaking to our family, our partners, our loved ones. The way we talk is going to be extremely critical. It's going to be very combative. It's going to be very egoistic conversations at this time. The sun represents our ego. So right now, people are going to get very egoistic in relationships, and that's where the conflict is going to start. We're going to think, oh, we're taking a stand for ourselves. This is my self-respect. Why did this person say something? But most of the time, if you really think about it, before you start that fight, you have to think about, is it really that important? Is that battle even worth fighting about? And you might realize that, you've made a mountain out of a molehill, because that's the effect of Rahu. So my guidance to everybody is, don't start fighting with loved ones, with people that are close to you, with family, with spouses, with loved ones, over small things. They may seem bigger to you, but in reality, they're small things, because it's the effect of Rahu, which makes everything seem so big and so important. So don't start having ego battles with your loved ones. People always ask me, what is the remedy? Well, the remedy is, you can't do remedies. You have to just change the way you behave. So you have to think before you start this ego battle. I'm telling you, everybody's going to have an ego battle at home, with loved ones, and at work. A lot of the zodiac signs are going to start ego battles at work, and I'll tell you which ones those are when I do the ascendant predictions. So you have to really step back and think about before you start the battle. Is it worth it? Is it really that big that I'm thinking it's that big, but it's really that small? So this is what this eclipse is going to do. It's going to give us a very different perception of what things are, and then we're going to go fight about our self-respect, about our ego. And it's not about that. It's about relationships. The relationship sometimes is way more important than your ego. Your ego doesn't have to always win. The relationship needs to win at times too, or all the time. And so sometimes you just give up the small battle and say, it's not worth it. This person's worth more. So again, I'm not going to preach, but I'm just saying that this is where the problem is. The other problem is going to be, in the finance part of it, where we're just going to spend like money's going out of style. So everybody needs to conserve their money. Don't spend everything, don't go after spending where you're trying to show off to other people. It's not going to end well. So that's one of the other guidance I'm going to give you. Don't spend a lot of money just because you want to show off. Spend on what you need to spend on for yourself, but not extravagantly and things that you can't afford on. It will not end well. And the other thing is food. This is not a good time to take chances with food. Make sure you eat well, because this is a time when a lot of people are going to suffer from digestive issues, because the second house represents your food you eat. So make sure you're eating healthy. Make sure you're eating foods that agree with you. And otherwise, a lot of people after the solar eclipse, around the solar eclipse time, are going to suffer from digestive issues. So make sure you eat well. So anger issues, ego issues, and don't make any financial decisions. Don't show off. Spend a lot of money. Don't get extravagant if you can't afford it. Even if you can, you really need to save it. And the last thing is make sure you eat healthy. General predictions for everybody. And now we talk about the best part that a lot of people are watching the video for, on how you can use the energy of an eclipse to manifest your dreams or desires. Now, it is believed by the Hindus, or it's in the Vedic text, that normally any eclipse is inauspicious, and no good things or auspicious things should be done during an eclipse. Like, you shouldn't even do prayers during an eclipse. Most of the temples in India are actually shut down during the eclipse. So what should be done during this eclipse? Well, one of the things that they say is you should do mantra practice, and you should ask for blessings during this eclipse. What are the kind of blessings they ask for? Let's take a look at it. Well, in Sanskrit, a solar eclipse is called Surya Grahan. Surya means sun, and Grahan does mean eclipse, but Grahan has another meaning. Grahan means to accept, or to receive, or to take something. So what they really mean, and it's said in the Vedic text, is that this energy can be utilized to ask and take the blessings of the planets at this time. So you're asking and taking the blessings of the planets that are playing an active role in this eclipse. In this instance, the active planets are Sun and the nodes and Venus that are playing a very active role in this eclipse. So we're going to ask these planets to bless us and give us whatever we desire, or manifest what we desire. So how do you go about that? Well, it's actually very simple. So how do you go about doing that? It's very simple. It's almost like you're doing creative visualization of what you desire. So the way you do it is it has to be done while the eclipse is going on, and it's immaterial whether the eclipse is visible in your local area or not, but it still has to be done while the eclipse is going on. So all you have to do is you sit down, calm your mind down, bring it down to a very positive level. Now, the way you can do that is by doing some mantra practice. If you're Hindu, you can do the sun mantra, which is right here, Om Suryaya Namah. If you're not of a Hindu faith, then you can do whatever chant that you do per your religion. Christians can do the Hail Mary, the Muslims can do whatever chants that they have in the Quran, and Jewish people, I'm not sure what they do, but I'm sure every religion has a positive chant or mantra that they do in their own prayers. So you can do your own prayer as long as you're doing deep breathing and calming your mind down. No matter what visualization technique you use, the first thing you always have to do is to calm your mind down. Once you have done sufficient mantra practice, or once you have sufficiently calmed your mind down and you're breathing at a very, very deep level, and you're relaxed, you're not stressed, then you can do creative visualization, which means you can ask these planets to bless you with whatever it is that you require. If you're looking for a job, you can fold your hands and ask the sun and say, please do give me a job. I do need to feed my family, or I need the food for the income for sustenance of my family or myself. And ask them, you request them. But at the same time, you must thank them for everything that you already have in your life. A lot of people come to me and say, I have nothing. You have a lot. Trust me, there's a lot of people that have almost nothing compared to what you have. So you first have to thank them for everything in your life. Show gratitude. Gratitude will get you everywhere, everything in life. Show gratitude and then ask them for whatever it is that you want. Do it with firm faith, firm devotion. That energy at that time of the eclipse is very powerful and is able to give you or manifest your dream and desire. But at the same time, this manifestation, or whether you're going to get it or not, is very dependent on you and your own energy. So your energy has to be ready to receive it. I don't like to preach a lot, but I'm just telling you that if the difference between people that are able to manifest what they want and the people that can't, unable to manifest regardless of the technique they use to manifest, is their own energy. A lot of people that say manifestation doesn't work is because of their own negativity and the lack of faith in the manifestation. Also, in general, if you're leading a life that's not very positive, meaning you're lying to people, you're cheating people, you're saying negative things about people, trust me, you will not be able to manifest anything, because energy goes to its own type. So positive energy goes to positive people and negative energy goes to negative people. So it goes to its own type. So if you stay positive and if you stay as a positive person instead of becoming a negative person, the positive energy will come to you regardless of the manifestation technique you use. So you can use this time to manifest your desires. The eclipses are very powerful, and if you miss the solar eclipse time, you can also do it in the lunar eclipse, which is on November 7th, which is coming up. So this can be done during any eclipse, not just this particular one. But this one is particularly good because it's also happening in the sign of Libra, which is ruled by Venus, and everybody that I know wants to manifest Libra or Venus related things, like the positive, the fun things in life, relationships, things that money can buy. So this time it's a particularly positive one for manifestations. So good luck, try to do that, and let's leave a comment later if they do manifest. But again, this manifestation is dependent mainly on your own energy. Make sure it's positive. Make sure you stay a positive soul. And now I move on to predictions by ascendant, but also by moon sign. So if you know your moon sign, it's a better idea to listen by moon sign. But actually you can listen to both, and whatever kind of resonates more with you, you can use that. Because it's an eclipse and because it's related to the moon and sun placement, it's a good idea to listen based on your moon sign as well. Now, these the moon sign and the ascendant signs are all based on Vedic or sidereal astrology. And of course, the actual events are always based on your own unique birth chart and the dasha antardashas that you're undergoing. These are just general predictions. Before I move on, I have to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe, and please share my video with friends and family if you like it. Also, if you like it, give me a like and leave comments. I love to read comments. I'm a little delayed in responding to them, but I always do respond to them. Also, my next video that I put out will have the raffle for the free astrology reading. I did that earlier in the year, and now this is the second one. It's for Diwali, and it's up for the Hindu festival, so that's my gift to my subscribers. So make sure you subscribe, so the minute I put out that video with that offer, you'll be notified. And you have to be a subscriber to win the raffle. So make sure you subscribe and send it to friends and family as well. And now I move on to your favorite part, which is going to be the predictions by either your moon sign or your ascendant sign. Aries, this eclipse is happening in your 7th house, and Venus rules your 2nd house. So this is going to be a testing time for your relationships, family as well as your marriage relationships. Don't be suspicious of your partner. Don't be doubtful of your family, and don't make accusations of all kinds or question their love in your life. Finance, this is not a good time to make any financial or investment decisions at this time. You need to be very careful even if you do that. Also, food is going to be a concern for you. Make sure you only eat healthy foods and foods that agree with you. This is not the time to be risky with either finance or the food. If you eat stuff that doesn't agree with you, there's a very good chance you're going to end up with some digestive issues. So take good care of your health, eat healthy, and stay cordial with your friends. I'm sorry, not friends, but family and your marriage partner. Taurus, This eclipse is happening in your 6th house, and Venus is your ascendant lord, so it also rules your 1st house. Now, this eclipse is all about your health. The 6th house relates to health matters, so you need to take very good care of your health at this time regarding eating habits. As I've mentioned before, make sure that you eat well. The best remedy that I can tell you is to make sure that you have a good workout regimen. For those Taurus that do, they might actually stay healthy. If not, you can have stomach issues, digestive issues, because of the way you eat or don't eat well. The other thing the 6th house represents is loans, either taking on too much loan or giving out loans. If you deal with loans, or maybe if you take on loans, you may not be able to pay them back. If you give out loans to family members at this time, you may not get them back either. So you need to be very careful about your finance management at this time. You may be very tempted to spend a lot of money on a lot of things, that fancy things like clothes and having fun. You need to be a little careful that you might overextend yourself. So take good care of your finances. Make sure that you don't overextend on the loan side, and also take very good care of your health and the food that you eat. Gemini, the eclipse is happening in your 5th house, and Venus also rules your 12th house. This eclipse is all about spending more money. I know Geminis have been spending a lot of money recently, but now this is also going to make you spend a lot more money, which is the 12th house. The 5th house represents your children, education, and also your love life and your things that you do creatively to satisfy yourself. So you're going to probably spend more money on children, love life, and things that you do for creativity and maybe even education purposes. But at the same time, you're going to find that all those things may not either give you happiness, or your children love life may actually have communication or have disagreements with you. And the reason for that may be your communication, because the way you communicate or the words that you've said to them is going to upset those very people that you've spent money on or spent time on. So make sure you communicate with them well, politely, courteously, because sometimes Gemini has a way of communicating and they're telling others what to do. So you need to stay focused on your relationships and maintaining good relationships. Also, you need to watch how you spend your money, because at this time the tendency to spend a lot is going to be great, and later, after a few months, you're going to realize you have overspent. So watch your money very, very carefully. This is not the time to play games or to overspend. And also, don't take chances with your relationship. Money can buy happiness. Money also cannot buy relationships. Cancer. Cancer, this eclipse is happening in your 4th house, and Venus also rules your 11th house. So this eclipse is basically going to kind of make you mentally stressed, rob you of your mental peace. And most of this is going to be around finance and food related and with your family. So you're going to get into conflict, disagreements over finance, how to spend it. You're going to be dissatisfied with your financial situation. It could be because you don't have enough, or you want more, or the fact that you're not making enough at work, and so it's that dissatisfaction is coming out in anger at home. Also, it could be related because of family members. So it could be related to food items. It could be related to everything that's going on at home regarding the work being done at home, or the food that has to be cooked or taken care of. Anything food related. There's going to be food fights related to food, money, and work, and within the household. So this is all the things that Cancer is going to have to deal with, and disagreements related to that within family members. And so they're going to get very stressed about that, and this is going to lead to digestive issues. So when you're stressed out and you eat, you normally have digestion issues. So Cancer is going to end up with some digestion issues for sure, because of the conflict and lack of peace at home. So my guidance to the Cancer people is to take a deep breath, try to relax, and also to make very, very smart financial choices at this time. This is not the time to overextend yourselves financially, because in the long run, this may not work out so well for you. Also, try to avoid conflict. Obviously, that's, assumed. But at this time, this is what the solar eclipse is going to do. Create some commotion within the house regarding finance, food, tasks, who's going to do what, and all that. So, try to be as calm as possible, and try to resolve the issues as calmly as possible you can, so you don't impact your own health. Leo, this eclipse is happening in the third house, and Venus also rules your 10th house. So the third house is a house of self-effort and discipline, and this is going to be very challenged at this time, where you feel you're making all this effort and it's causing you stress. You need to put all this discipline in to get all your tasks completed. Now these could be related to things at home, or a lot of the Leos, it could be related to your work, because the 10th house, Venus rules your 10th house, which is the house of career. So you're going to need to make all this effort, to have a lot of discipline to get everything completed, and you're not going to feel like it, or you're not going to do a really good job of it. So you're going to keep forgetting things, or you're going to keep missing things, and your work's not going to be as accurate or as complete as it needs to be. So you need to focus on making sure that you put in full effort. You don't tell others what to do, but you need to do it yourself. A lot of Leos don't like doing things themselves. They like to tell others what to do. But this is the time where you're going to need to do it yourself, and that's what the challenge, or the rift in the relationships is going to be, because there's going to be some challenges in relationships at work, because people are going to say, well, you need to do these things yourself, or at home, where a lot of people are going to say, well, this is your task to do and you should do it, instead of telling everybody what to do. So you can get into some relationship battles and conflicts related to the tasks that you're supposed to do, as opposed to what others are supposed to do. So you need to put the effort and do things what you're supposed to do. Take on the ownership and put in the effort and put in the discipline to complete your own tasks. The other thing is the third house is represents your siblings. So make sure, third house also is communication. So make sure that when you communicate with your siblings, you have good expectations, fair expectations from them, not overly unfair expectations. Otherwise, there could be relationship challenges with your siblings as well. So the communication issues at home regarding tasks and with your siblings is going to be a challenge for you this time. Make sure you up to the challenge and you manage these expectations well. Otherwise, things could end up not so well, especially with your siblings. So the third house is siblings. And so you need to make sure that your communication with siblings, civil, cordial, polite. Don't burn your bridges with them. Don't burn relationships. Don't get into conflict with them. And definitely own up to your own tasks, whether at work or at home. Virgo, this eclipse is happening in your second house, and Venus also rules your 9th house. So the second house represents food, finance, and above all, family members. And the second house also represents your speech pattern. So at this time, the eclipse of the sun being involved is going to give you very, very egoistic speech, very speech that's very disturbing to your family, and also create a lot of conflict. So you need to watch your speech pattern. What the words that you're saying, are they egoistic, or are they taking on battles, conflicts unnecessarily? Also, things might appear to you like people are not with you, your family members are not with you, they're not supporting you, and it might just be something in your head, and that's not actually true. So you need to make sure you maintain good communication with your family, extended family, not just at home, but extended family members. And above all, you need to manage your finance well. Don't get carried away and do things that are overspend, and definitely don't manage or do anything risky with your finance at this time. It's not a good time at all. The other thing is food that you eat. This is definitely not a good time to take chances with what you're eating. So make sure you're eating very healthy and food that agrees with you. And I'm saying that to a lot of ascendants, but this is very important at this time, because for most people, but especially for Virgos, because it's happening in the second house, and the second house is your mouth, and so the food that you eat. So you need to take good care of what you're eating, your diet, make sure that it agrees with you. Otherwise, you could end up with some digestive issues. So do that. Also watch your communication with family members. And Virgo, if you are lucky enough to still have your father in your life, make sure you tell him you love him and take very good care of him. Libra, this eclipse is happening in your own ascendant sign. So this is going to have a very physical effect on you, because Libra, Venus also owns your 8th house. So the 8th house is one of those houses that is not a favorite of astrologers, because it represents sudden things, unforeseen things that happen, come out of nowhere, some difficulty, obstacle that comes out of nowhere suddenly. So make sure you take good care of your physical health. Don't do anything risky at this time. Take care that you're driving driving carefully as well at this time. Also, this eclipse is actually going to have the most powerful physical effect on you, where you feel very low, very drained, like you don't have energy. You also feel like, you know, you don't know what decision to make. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, nobody loves you. Also, it makes you feel like you've been abandoned by everybody, you know, like, does anybody even love me? Does anybody care about me? My whole family's against me. So you have these feelings, and it's the solar eclipse playing these games, mind games with you. It may not actually obviously be true, but that's how you're going to feel. Now, I'm going to counsel Libra the most, because I'm going to tell you to get out of that. In order to get out of it, you need to do some serious mantra practice, some serious meditation, so you come out of this down in the dump feeling. For Libra, the sun is debilitated, and it's also, you know, Libra, Venus also owns the 8th house. So they generally, sometimes they might have that feeling where they're like, nobody loves me. And they're always trying to balance themselves because it's the sign of the scales, so they're always trying to balance things out, what they want, what the family wants, what, you know, in the career, giving up things for other people. So they're always trying to do this balancing act all their lives, and so sometimes they tend to become unhappy, and so they're like, I don't know what's best for me, I don't know what's best for the other person, and should I give up my things for the other people? So the best way to balance this energy, especially now with the solar eclipse in Libra, is to meditate. Deep meditation, deep breathing, and spend some time out during the day in the sun and absorb that sun energy. Sometimes just absorbing this energy of that sun that's debilitated in your chart is actually very positive for your whole body. So it kind of brings up your aura and your energy and your decision making skills and your confidence. It brings that up. So spend a lot of time in the sun. Maybe you could take a walk during the daytime or something, and just kind of spend time with yourself, think through things, clarify things in your mind, and tell yourself that this is just something I'm thinking. It's not really true. So bring yourself up, bring up your confidence, feel good about yourself. A lot of Libras don't feel good about themselves enough. They always want to give the credit to somebody else. It's a quality of Libra. Give the credit to somebody else. So give yourself the credit, bring your confidence up, do some deep meditation, and make sure you take good care of your health and good care of your soul health at this time. So I wish you good luck, Libra. These are general predictions, but again, I know that a lot of the Libra people might feel like they don't have good physical energy at this time. So make sure you're eating healthy, taking good care of your health. Maybe you can do some workout, and like I said, go out and try to have some fun with your loved ones. Scorpio, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house, and Venus also rules your 7th house. So there's disagreements and some disturbance within the marriage. And the reason for the conflict is probably spending, expenses, and also travel related. Maybe there's some conflict relating to travel also. So this is all about money, that the disturbance is about money. It isn't about love as much as it about how much are you going to spend on me, how much fun can we have with money. So that's the disturbance. So you need to make sure you can manage through that. The other disturbance is going to be in your business as well as at work. There's going to be a lot of ego clashes at work, and you need to manage through those as well. You need to manage your communication well, so you don't have these ego battles at work as well. This is not a good time to start anything new, or start a new job, or start new relationships, or anything new at this time. So make sure you manage your finance well. Make sure you are able to manage through the disturbance in the marriage. And of course, spending is at a peak for some Scorpios, so you need to manage your spending and manage your financial affairs well. Otherwise, in the long run, this solar eclipse could really not end well for you from a financial perspective. Scorpios, you also need to be ready for some unforeseen large expenses that may come up because of the solar eclipse. So make sure, like I said, make sure you manage your finances well. Sagittarius, this eclipse is happening in your 11th house, and Venus also rules your 6th house. The 11th house is your friends, your network circle, and it's also finance. So Sagittarius, you need to manage your relationship with your friends and your network circle as far as financial issues are concerned. It's not a good time to loan out money to your friends, because the 6th house is also loans. So it's not a good time to loan out money to your friends or accept loans from your friends either. It will not get resolved. The loans will not get paid back by whoever takes out the loan at this time. It's also not a good time to flaunt wealth to your friends or to your network circle. It can break relationships at this time. So friends and money do not mix at this time. That's what the solar eclipse is saying to you. Also, there may be some challenges in your relationship with your friends and network circle based on what you're communicating to them, how you're projecting yourself to them. So the sun is also about how you project yourself to people. And so how you project yourself to your friends circle, your network circle is going to be at this time, you need to be careful with it, because other people might perceive you to be one way and you may not have intended for you to be projected that way. So make sure you're very cautious about how you're projecting yourself on my least favorite platform called Facebook. So this is the time where you're really going to piss off people by what you're saying or what you're showing yourself off to be. So just be cautious with that, because this 11th house also means things like Facebook and media like that. So be careful about what you post. You may create enemies because of that, because the 6th house is the house of enemies as well. So both the house of friendship and enemies is getting activated. So you really need to be very careful about what you say, who you say it to, and in any format. It could be in person or it could be in Facebook. So just be very careful what you're posting, and also be careful what you're saying. Taking on the approach of I'm very wealthy may not be the way to go, and bragging is not the way to go right now. Let's just say it that way. So again, manage through your communication with friends, networks. Stay humble. This is the time to be humble, and also do not flaunt your wealth or spend a lot of money. Financial management at this time is going to be very key, which is the main representation of the 11th house. Manage your finance well instead of spending it and splurging it and then telling everybody about it. That's the best way I can tell Sagittarius what to do. Capricorn, the eclipse is happening in your 10th house. And so the 10th house is the house of career. There could be some changes. There could be disturbance in there. The sun also represents your boss. So be very tempted to have a good relationship with them and not be telling them off or taking an attitude of an ego or not listening or not following orders. So make sure you're very, very cautious at work. Make sure you listen to directions. Make sure you're doing what the boss tells you to do, and don't take chances with your employment. So you need to do that. Venus also rules your 5th house. So the 5th house is your house of children, your love life, and just generally having fun. So don't sacrifice your career and go out and have fun. Like, it's not a good time where you call in sick and then you go have fun. This is not the time where you take chances with your employment at all. So my guidance to Capricorn is keep your head down, work hard, listen to the boss, follow instructions, even though you don't like them. Now's not the time to mess with people at work or take chances with your employment. Later on, there could be some changes or some offers that come up, and if they do, you can think about them and before you accept them. But during the eclipse is not a good time to make any changes. So there's some changes coming maybe later, and you can think about them before you accept them. But an eclipse is not a good time to make any changes at work. Just keep your head down and work hard. Aquarius, this eclipse is happening in your 9th house, and Venus rules your 4th house as well. So Aquarius, 9th house is the house of luck, your father, and your dharma. So for Aquarius, they might feel like luck is not on their side, and they don't feel as energetic and as positive as they normally do. And so they might feel they have to work twice as hard to get the same results. So they might feel a little down. They also might feel like they're not energetic, and they don't have the same charisma, the energy to do new things. They may feel very low on energy. And the 4th house is getting activated, and the 4th house is mental stress and also disturbance at home. So because of the fact that they're low on energy, they feel like they have to work twice as hard. They may get frustrated at home and start fighting with or having disagreements with people at home. So they need to watch for that and make sure that they manage the relationship at home. And if they're feeling low, maybe they can watch their diet or do something different, but they're going to have low energy. One of the recommendations that I can do for the Aquarius people is, if they're religious, then the 9th house also represents your dharma or your religion. So they can do a lot of meditation. They can, do some prayers. One of the best things they can do is come out during when it's sunny outside or during the daytime, and just kind of soak in some of this sun energy and say a few prayers or do some mantras. And so it helps bring up the luck factor in their life, and actually helps to increase their energy in the physical energy in the body as well. Otherwise, a little bit of disturbance at home, and having conflict or with whoever is staying in their home, and mental worry and stress. They need to work on that a little bit. Also, eat well, because that's going to also have some stomach issues if they don't eat well. Again, Aquarius, take good care of your health, and especially if Aquarius is lucky enough to have a father in their life, make sure you take good care of your father and tell him you love him. Pisces, this eclipse is happening in your 8th house. So the 8th house is sudden health issues coming up. They could be chest related, they could be stomach related. So take very good care of your health. The 3rd house is also your siblings and your communication. So make sure you manage your communication with your siblings really well. Otherwise, things could go sideways pretty quickly. So also one of the things that Pisces needs to make sure is don't do any risky investments at this time. Wait for this eclipse to pass, because whatever you do could result in a loss. So it's not a good time to make investments. Manage your relationship with your siblings really well. And one of the last things that I have to say is don't do any social media trolling or put any negative comments out on social media. The 3rd house represents social media, and the 8th house is getting activated. So things could take an ugly turn very quickly. So make sure you're very polite, courteous on social media if you're an active social media person, and don't do any negative trolling. Things could get out of hand. Don't post anything controversial on social media. That could get out of hand as well. And again, your communication, you really, really need to manage it. The 3rd house is all about communication. So make sure you manage your communication. If you do any written contracts or anything like that, make sure you read everything very, very carefully. Very carefully. I would discourage doing anything contracts right now during the eclipse, but if you have to, even for a few months before or after, make sure you read everything carefully. Make sure you check everything carefully before you do it. The 3rd house is all about written contracts also, so make sure you check that before you sign anything. And with this, I come to the end of my video. Good luck, everybody. I hope the solar eclipse brings everybody hopes and wishes that they've always desired. Stay safe. I'll see you on my next video.